The first thing to explain is that this is not going to help you through film school. These are completely intuitive opinions. So it's going to be a breakdown after my own assumptions and not any set texts, although hopefully some of you will find what I say of value, perhaps in forming a foundation for your own opinions. Anyway. Okay, let's start from the beginning and cut to the meat. Rey hands Luke his penis. Stop chuckling at the back, right? That's what's going on. Rey hands Luke his penis and he throws it away. We're not talking necessarily about his genitalia, right? The phallus is a symbol for Luke's potency, Luke's martial agency, the thing about him that's to be feared. Okay? So she hands it to him and he throws it away. Why does he do this? Well, there are narrative reasons why. You see, if he doesn't, if he accepts the saber and takes up the challenge that Rey's giving him, what he's saying to the audience is, I will come and be the saving patriarch for you. And if you think about it, that's really the last thing the movie wants to do, because it runs counter to every message in it, namely that of people finding their own identity and overthrowing the old hierarchies, what some people might call patriarchy or what I would call traditionalism. So he has to throw it away for the sake of the narrative. Why would he do this, though? As a character, why would he do this? Well, clearly he's he can see no end to the conflict except to remove himself from it. He's come to see himself as nothing but a destructive influence. The old man doesn't want to be reminded of his youthful prowess. Okay? A beautiful young girl turns up at this island, offering him back his potency, and he's learned to live without that thing that can exact such a price in his life. He's learned to live without it. So the last thing he wants is to have it back and for things to be thrown into confusion again, because Luke isn't confused anymore. He's bitter. He's disappointed. He's cut himself off from everything that made his life meaningful once. But what he's got in exchange for that is certainty, simplicity. And you ask anyone over 50, that's a damn hard thing to give up. Okay, so that's why he throws away the saber. That's why we see that to begin with. So what does Rey have to do now? Well, any hope she had for some kind of narrative, any easy answer for where she belongs in the hierarchy or in the setup, it's been scuppered. You know, what's wrong? Luke won't come. He won't do the thing that she wants him to do. She has to go searching for her own identity, and she'll spend the rest of the movie doing this. I need someone to help me find my place in all this. And well, there it is on paper. That's what she's looking for. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're all looking for in the aftermath of the traditional Holocaust. But she doesn't know where to begin. It's because it's a hell of a thing to do. You know, she doesn't know where to begin when it comes to finding her place and finding a sense of purpose. So she goes down into hell. She goes to the dark place. Maybe she thinks that, of all places, that's where she's going to get an honest answer. We do that too. She goes to the dark place and she finds a mirror, which is a classic symbol. She hopes to be able to identify in that reflection an identity, a place where she belongs, and a commandment about how to deploy herself. But instead, she finds an infinity of Reys, which are impossible to choose from. And it confuses her so much that she doesn't even know where she is in this infinite parade of selves. Is she ahead? Is she behind? Or is she in the middle? Which self is she? Then this is a very, this is a bloody tough question. How is she going to get an answer to this? Well, she tries to identify herself by asking an emotional question. Who are my parents? And the Hell Mirror can't answer that question. Maybe the reason it can't answer that question is because there's a problem with the question. That is to say that it's irrelevant to her identity. Indeed, later in the movie, we'll see that the question of her parentage is pointedly, tragically irrelevant to her identity. They are nobodies, and therefore, by association, maybe she's a nobody too. This is the kind of problem that can topple psyches. So what she has to do to get out of this hellhole is to invent herself. And no one in the movie is helping her do this. No one's training her to be a Jedi. No one's being a leadership figure. And no one is offering the consolation of belonging, except Kylo Ren, who is her lover as well as her nemesis. Kylo Ren's also got his own problems. His situation is kind of the opposite. He's very sure about who he is. His problem is that he's not really convincing anybody about it. He's not convincing his superiors, and he's not convincing his subordinates either. But he's got no shortage of certainty when it comes to his own identity and purpose. And it's a reflection of Luke's identity and purpose. Kylo Ren wants to leave everything behind. He wants to overturn the old order, and he wants to be in charge and remake it, presumably in his own image. He's hobbled by a few basic personal inadequacies, though, one of which is his emotional immaturity. And this is going to be challenged in this story, because during portions of the film, Rey and Kylo are literally connected across time and space. They have discourse with each other. They even seem to come to some understanding of each other's motives and purposes. What these encounters do is they do something new for Kylo Ren. They force him to be intimate. And this is something that frightens him, but it's also intoxicating, and he perhaps sees it as part of his path anyway. He must form a relationship with Rey because in his romantic idiot mind, she is to be his. He reduces the outside world to a series of utilities, of which she is one. And I believe that he loves her. I believe that is what we're told in the screenplay, that he loves her. Although you probably would want to call it being in love rather than actually loving someone, because he's not really emotionally equipped to be able to do that yet. But that chemical instance of being in love, as most of us have experienced, from sort of childhood onwards, is definitely taking place in him, and I believe that he believes it. But once it becomes clear that Rey is not going to join in with his domination narrative, he breaks psychotically. This is someone who can't stand being rejected and can't stand having their plans frustrated. And as a consequence, well, he's back to being a bastard again. This choice to resist him as well kind of helps finally define Rey to herself, helps to define what she is. She has to do the right thing. She has to resist tyranny, and for all practical purposes, that's her narrative settled for the time being. Luke Skywalker, however, must in the end come back and do what he was originally asked to do in the first place, and be the avenging patriarch. But there's a price to be paid for that, because it's the story that has to go away, so that we can make room for new things. So, Kylo retreats back into mindless self-indulgence. Rey manages to discover who she is under her own power, which is a very important point for the story and probably for the saga in general. Luke must once again reprise his old tricks, but at the cost of his life. Okay, well, thank you for indulging me. If you found this interesting at all, do click like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any thoughts. Does my analysis hold up, or am I talking out of my arse? It's up to you, and let's hope that this promotes discussion and encourages these kinds of analysis of big movies and the big stories. So thanks very much. Bye.